You know, 6 months or even a year ago, I probably wouldn't have described Rex Tillerson as a voice of moderation when it comes to some foreign policy issues, but yet here we are. Tillerson leaving the White House, Mike Pompeo coming in. What does that mean for U.S. policy towards the Middle East, specifically on Qatar and Iran?
So on Iran, it's probably not good news for those people who kind of want to see the deal stay intact and then want to see Iran on this trajectory to becoming a kind of more normal nation. So he is on record as taking a far more hardline position on that than Rex Tillerson, who felt that the deal, whilst maybe imperfect, was something that the US should stick with. Now, that's probably undoubtedly the case. Net-net, this is not good for the Iran deal. The only caveat to that, the only kind of gleam of light in all of that is on these things, it's really important for the president and the secretary of state to be synchronized.
Right.
You look at how synchronized Obama was with John Kerry. That was the kind of role model for how globetrotting secretary of state is completely an extension of the president. The Kerry-Obama relationship really defined probably how it should be. Whether you agree with their politics or not, that was the kind of gold standard for that kind of relationship. The Tillerson-Trump relationship was never that.
Right.
You know, as we know, Rex Tillerson, 41 years at ExxonMobil, he was the product of that world. He was deliberate, he was calm, he was data-driven, he was everything you would expect from somebody who's been at the helm of a great company. The president is emotional, he's impulsive, he thrives on the kind of self-generated chaos somewhat.
Wait, but does having someone in sync with Trump when it comes to that sort of style in a position of foreign policy, a powerful position of foreign policy, is that useful?
It might just be useful, and this is where the kind of glimmer of light might be, because if Pompeo comes to the conclusion that he can squeeze a better deal out of the Europeans in relation to Iran, it's probably Mike Pompeo who's going to sell it to the president, not Rex Tillerson.
Interesting.
So from that extent, somebody who is more like-minded, who's got better rapport, better sort of an intuitive, empathetic relationship with his boss, is more likely to be able to get the president to kind of compromise or to be able to represent the data in a way that appears as if changes perhaps happened where maybe it hasn't to entirely that extent. Now that I fully admit that sort of grasping at straws slightly there, but it's not entirely necessarily the end of the deal.
Well, needs must in the current situation. Whatever Pompeo might think of the Iran deal, you mentioned there that he would need international support, particularly from Europe, in order to do anything about it, such as decertify it. What's the current stance towards the Iran deal coming from the rest of the world?
So the rest of the big three in Europe, as it were, so France, Germany and the United Kingdom, still right behind it, but keen as they can be to try and accommodate some change so that they can keep the US on side. The deal doesn't completely die without the United States, but it's a pale imitation of what might otherwise have been. The difficulty for the US is, though, that it's heading in a very different direction with North Korea, with the president now saying he can do a deal with this guy, no conditions meeting, potentially in the next few months. So that will also be on Mike Pompeo's kind of inbox of how he kind of tries to reconcile a much tougher line with Iran and then this olive branch to North Korea. I mean, foreign policy is always the kind of compromise of opposites, and this is going to be that in spades.